gupta.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, kindly do it so that you don't miss any of my videos. So without any delay, let's get started. And today I'm gonna basically take the React.js LinkedIn assessment. So I have heard a lot that this assessment is very difficult, right? So I have heard that this assessment is very tough, right? So I'm also going to take this and see if I can pass today, right? So without any delay, let's get started. Damn! So there will be 15 multiple choice questions in this assessment. 1.5 minutes will be given to me for per question. Score in the top 30% to earn a badge, right? So let's start this assessment. Okay, so what is this pattern called? Constant count, set count, use state, array spread operating, array destructuring, code pushing, object destructuring. This is array destructuring because use state gives us an array with two items, and the first item will come in count and the method, that is the second item, will come in set count, right? So this is called array destructuring. How do you set a default value for an uncontrolled form field? Use the default value property. The default property, use the value property, it assigns one automatically. So it does not assign one automatically. There's no default property. I think it is the default value property. I think it is the default value property. So I'll go with it. What is children prop? A property that lets you pass data to child elements, a property that lets you set an array as a property that lets you pass components as data to other components, a property that adds child components to state. Tricky. It is not this, a property that lets you set an array as a property that adds child components to state. I don't think it is this fourth option. A property that lets you pass data to child elements. But you don't need the child prop for that. You can use normal props also. Like, right? So I'll go with a property that lets you pass components as data to other components. It can be wrong. Okay, so I need to read the question, so I'll just move my video for a second. So what is the difference between click behaviors of these two buttons? Assuming that this dot handle click is bound correctly. So it is bound correctly. So we need to take out the difference. Button on click, this dot handle click, click me, and button on click, event, this dot handle click. So basically an event is automatically passed to a method. So if you give it this way, like an arrow function, and then pass handle click an event, or you just normally give it like this, it's still the same thing because event is automatically passed. So let's see the options. Button there's no difference. Button A will not fire the handler this dot handle click successfully. Button B will not fire the handler this dot handle click successfully. Button A will not have access to the event object on click of the button. So there's no difference because over here event is passed automatically, and over here we are taking in the event and passing it to handle click. So there's no difference. Next, when might you use react.pureComponent? When you don't want your component to have state, when you have sibling components that need to be compared, not this. When you do not want your component to have props, when do you want a default implementation of should component update, not this, not this. When you do not want your component to have props, when you do not want your component to have state. So I think it is this one, We use React.pure component when you do not want your component to have state, right? So I'm going with that option. When using a portal, which is the second argument? When using portal, ah, this is tricky. I have not used portal. Okay, the current state, the page, the app component, the DOM element that exists outside of the parent component. When using a portal, what is the second argument? The current state, the page, app component, the DOM element that exists outside of the parent component. Uh, React DOM.create portal x comma y. I'll go with the app component. This is a complete guess from me. I'm not sure at all about that. What is e.target.id called in this code snippet? A JSX code string, a computed property name, a set value, a dynamic key. It is called a computed property name because we are computing the value of e.target.id, and whatever the value is the property for the value, right? So whatever the value of e.target.id is will be set as the property name. So I think it is a computed property name. Why is it a good idea to pass a function to set state instead of an object? Set state is asynchronous and might result in out of sync values. It makes sure that the object is not muted. It is not this. It provides better encapsulation. No. It automatically updates a component. No. So this is the most relevant one. Set state is asynchronous and might result in out of sync values. This is the most relevant answer. I'll go with this. When using Webpack, why would you need to use a loader? Interesting. To pre-process files, to put together physical file folders, to load external data, to load the website into everyone's phone. What can it be? To pre-process files, to put together physical file folders, to load external data, to load the website into everyone's phone. I'm not sure about this one. I'm just guessing right now. So I don't think it's these two, right? To pre-process files, to load the website into everyone's phone. This sounds more correct, right? So to load the website into everyone's phone does not sound correct, right? So I'll go with to pre-process files. Which choice will not cause a React component to render? If the component calls this.setState, the value, which choice will not cause a React component to re-render? Okay. If the component calls this.setState, the value of one of the components prop changes. If the component calls this.forceUpdate, one of the component siblings re-renders. I'll go with the last one because if one of the components sibling re-renders, that does not mean that this component will also re-render, right? So if it's sibling re-renders, so it does not mean that the component over here will also re-render if it's sibling re-renders. So I'll go with the last one. Given the following code, what does this React element look like? React.create element h1 null what's happening. h1 what's happening, h1 id component what's happening, h1 props equals null what's happening, h1 id equals null what's happening. So it is this because the second argument. Oh, okay, this is tricky. Now, why is this tricky? Because we are nowhere specifying the ID, right? So it can't be these two. But I think, yeah, I'm sure it is the first option because H1 does not have a props property, I think. So whenever we give the props over here, it must have been given it to H1 as separate attributes. I'll go with the first one. What do you call a React component that catches JavaScript errors where in anywhere in the child component tree? Error catches, error boundaries, error bosses, error helpers. Oh man, this is just a name that I don't know. What do you call a React component that catches JavaScript errors? Anywhere in the child component tree. Error catchers, error boundaries. I don't think it is error bosses, and I don't think it is error boundaries. Error catchers or error helpers. Error catchers sounds kind of odd. Why would somebody name it error catchers? I'll go with error helpers right now because I think that is only correct. And now, what value of the button will allow you to pass the name of the person to be hugged? Class huggable extends react.component hug. We have a hug. It will just log out hugging plus id. Then we are rendering let name equals kitty, and basically we need to add what button, right? So, what value of the button will allow you to pass the name of the person to be hugged? Button on click E, this the hug hug name E. Button on click name, it is not this. Button on click E, it's not this also. Basically, the event is automatically passed, so we don't need to pass it like this. So I'll go with the first option. Describe what is happening in this code. Constant name equals first name equals person. It is creating a new object that contains the same name. It is creating a new object that contains the same name property as the person object. It is assigning the value of the person object's name property to a constant called first name. It is retrieving the value of person dot name dot first name. It is assigning the value of the person's object's first name property to call name. It is creating a new object that contains the same name property as the person object. I don't think it is the first one. It is assigning the value of the person object's name property to a constant. Assigning the value of the person. No, it is retrieving the value of person dot name dot first name. It is assigning the value of a person object's first name property to a constant called name. It is assigning the value of the person object's first name property to a constant called name. No, I'll go with the third option. what do you need to change about this code to get it to run? So class clock extends reacted component render return h1. Look at the time, this dot props dot time. Remove the render method, add codes around the return value, remove this capitalized clock, this capitalized clock. View results. And yeah, great work. I owned a batch, right? I was in the top 15% among 450.4k people who took this, and I'm quite happy because this was seriously a very difficult test, right? So it was very difficult, right? So yeah, this was interesting and difficult, right? So thank you guys. If you like me attempting the LinkedIn assessment about on React, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. Thank you guys. Bye. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep watching my videos. Damn.